What would you do if you met a stranger with a broken arm asking for your help? Someone polite, charming, maybe even handsome, who seemed harmless enough? For many young women in the 1970s, that very scenario led to their final moments alive. Today, we're diving into the chilling, terrifying story of one of the most dangerous serial killers in American history, Ted Bundy. Stay tuned, because you won't believe the twists, the escapes, and the pure horror that one man unleashed on a nation. This is the story of a man who used charm as a weapon, intelligence as his disguise, and darkness as his ally. This is the story of Ted Bundy. Ted Bundy was not the stereotypical serial killer. Born Theodore Robert Cowell in 1946, his early life was shrouded in lies. Raised by his grandparents, he was told his mother was actually his sister, a fact he wouldn't discover until later in life. This revelation, some speculate, may have been the first crack in Bundy's carefully crafted facade of normalcy. From a young age, Bundy was different. Despite his seemingly average upbringing, there were troubling signs. Ted's fascination with power and control began with small acts of theft and deceit. As a teenager, he started peeping into windows and spying on unsuspecting women. But soon, watching from afar wasn't enough. Bundy's transformation from a disturbed young man into a brutal predator took root in the early 1970s when he was living in Washington state. By this time, he had developed his signature technique, luring his victims by pretending to be injured, often with a cast or crutches. And the bait worked. Between 1974 and 1978, Ted Bundy embarked on a killing spree that spanned multiple states: Washington, Utah, Colorado, Idaho, and Florida. His victims were almost always young, attractive college-aged women. He would approach them, feigning vulnerability, asking for help, and once he had them in his grasp, the horror began. His method was both brutal and chillingly personal. Bundy would knock his victims unconscious, abduct them, sexually assault them, and then kill them. Some were strangled, others bludgeoned. Many were found in remote areas, left in shallow graves, or never found at all. What made Ted Bundy particularly terrifying was his ability to blend in. He was a law student, worked at a suicide hotline, and even had a girlfriend. To the outside world, Bundy seemed like the last person who could be capable of such unspeakable acts. His ability to live two lives, one as a predator, the other as an upstanding citizen, was the secret to his long reign of terror. By 1975, the authorities were finally closing in on Bundy. He was arrested in Utah for the attempted kidnapping of a young woman, Carol Duranch, who managed to escape his clutches. But even in custody, Bundy's ability to manipulate and charm didn't wane. While facing charges for his crimes, Bundy did the unthinkable. In 1977, while in custody in Colorado, he escaped twice. The first time, he jumped from a second-story courthouse window and disappeared for 6 days. The second, he escaped from jail by crawling through the ceiling, slipping past guards, and vanishing into the night. Bundy fled to Florida, where he unleashed one of the most brutal attacks of his criminal career. In January 1978, Bundy broke into the Chi Omega sorority house at Florida State University. Armed with a log, he attacked 4 women, killing 2 of them and severely injuring the others. The violence of that night was staggering, and it marked the beginning of the end for Ted Bundy. Just weeks later, Ted Bundy's killing spree finally came to an end. In February 1978, he was pulled over in a stolen car by a Florida police officer. Bundy gave a false name, but fingerprints revealed his true identity: Ted Bundy, America's most wanted man. Bundy's trial in 1979 became a media sensation. For the first time in U.S. history, a murder trial was televised. Bundy, ever the manipulator, acted as his own attorney, turning the courtroom into his stage. He even proposed to his girlfriend, Carol Ann Boone, during the trial in a bizarre spectacle.
I want to marry you. I do want to marry you.
But the evidence against Bundy was overwhelming. His teeth marks on one of the victims' bodies, eyewitness testimony, and his own erratic behavior sealed his fate. In July 1979, Bundy was sentenced to death for the Chi Omega murders. 2 years later, he received another death sentence for the murder of 12-year-old Kimberly Leach. Ted Bundy spent nearly a decade on death row, during which he finally began confessing to his crimes. He admitted to killing at least 30 women, though some believe the number may be much higher. His confessions were chillingly matter-of-fact, as if he were recounting a mundane event. Even on death row, Bundy remained a figure of fascination, attracting letters from admirers and conducting interviews that sent chills down the spines of viewers. On January 24, 1989, after years of appeals, Ted Bundy was executed in the electric chair. Outside the prison, crowds cheered as the man who had caused so much pain and terror was finally put to death. But the legacy of his crimes, the lives he destroyed, and the families he shattered would never be forgotten. Ted Bundy's name will forever be etched in history as one of the most dangerous, manipulative, and brutal serial killers the world has ever seen. His charm, intelligence, and sheer audacity made him a nightmare that haunted the nation for years. But even more frightening than his crimes was the realization that evil can sometimes hide behind the most unassuming of faces. In the end, Bundy's own words may offer the clearest insight into his twisted mind. He once said, "We serial killers are your sons, we are your husbands, we are everywhere." And that chilling truth is what makes him one of the most terrifying figures in American criminal history. Thank you for watching. If you found this video informative and thought-provoking, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. Stay safe and remember, monsters like Ted Bundy may be rare, but they do exist.